It was always staying up till maybe like 12 o'clock in the morning, just fighting going on in the house, worrying about if my mom's out, cheating on my dad or what my dad's gonna do, and cops showing up. My home environment was very unhealthy.
Dante Grady grew up in a home filled with dysfunction and despair, where he was physically and mentally abused by his father.
There'd just be times where I'd be trying to get some sleep for school in the morning, and he'd just wake me up and hang me by my feet and just beat me with whatever he could find by him.
The abuse warped Dante's sense of safety and self-esteem.
And it just did something to us over time, and you just kind of become numb. I was fearful at home and on the outside world. I didn't feel like I had protection. I felt like I was just kind of me and myself.
The family often attended church together, but it was more of a social activity.
My conception of God was more so just like a religion. My family, we just kind of went through the motions, and there was no, Jesus loves you. There was no seeing the gospel in people's lives.
Dante and his sister sought ways to deal with the pain of their home life. Dante turned to drugs and alcohol as a teen.
These things provided for me just an escape from what I was experiencing, what I was living in. I'd say the worst was with the LSD. The effect of that was taking you to another world. I'd walk around school with acid tablets in my socks, just waiting to get home.
One evening, he says he encountered some very dark entities while on an acid trip.
My heart sank. Felt like I was having a heart attack. There was demons coming in all four corners of my room, and I hid under my blanket for like 30 minutes.
When the family moved from the Pittsburgh area to Florida, Dante was introduced to pornography.
It was our next door neighbor. He showed it to me one time, and it was like a hook in my mouth. And it just, as soon as I went home that night, that was the first thing I went back to was porn. And it just became like an ongoing cycle ever since.
He lived this roller coaster life of addiction to drugs and pornography until early adulthood. One evening, Dante, seeing no hope, considered ending his life.
That was after coming down from an acid trip, and I think I had just smoked too, and I walked home, and I just like numb in every way possible, like mind just completely lost, and I was just like, this is it, I'm gonna cut my throat, and I got that call.
The phone call was, surprisingly, from his father, telling him about a visiting speaker at a nearby church.
I was like, I really don't want to talk to him right now, but okay, this is kind of my last resort. What can go wrong? Let's get this over with. I'm sitting in those pews, and old school wooden pews. He says there's a young man in here that's been crippled by pornography. And a few seconds later, it was like the Lord just dropped down a mirror in front of me and just reviewed my whole life to me. And it was at that moment where I felt like the Lord grabbed a hold of my heart and just pulled me up there. There was nothing I could do.
Dante went forward and knelt down at the altar, praying to God to give him hope. The next thing he knew, he was lying on the floor.
I've had experiences with religion and legalism and all that stuff, but that was my encounter with the living God. He was up there prophesying over me, and I just weep like a baby. And I remember I went down after the Lord was filling me with His precious Spirit, and I was out for like 20 minutes.
Dante was instantly delivered from his drug and porn addictions and set free.
When I went home, I deleted all the drug dealers' numbers out of my phones, blocked them, and threw everything in the garbage, and just tried to get healthy habits in my life. The reason I knew that was a heart change was because right after I got up off that ground, I just couldn't wait to go home and just throw away all my smoking utensils and stuff and just get rid of the junk that I knew was so harmful to me.
He was also able to forgive his father and reconcile with him.
God has definitely healed my father wounds. It's been a process. I wish it was something that just kind of went away like that. There's still those times where some memories will just kind of flash through my mind, and it'll just bring me to tears, but He's definitely healed those ones.
Today, he has a ministry in the Orlando area, helping young men and the homeless overcome addictions.
I just want to be present with people. I'm willing to go out on the dangerous neighborhoods and just love on people and just share the gospel and just give people hope, just because I know that this life is not my own. Jesus is different to me now because I actually had an encounter with Him that changed me for the rest of my life. There was nothing that anybody could say that would steer me away from that. I experienced that love, the Father's embrace. I experienced chains breaking. My advice to young people caught up in addiction would be, it's gonna leave you empty. It might fill you temporarily, but I promise there is a void in your heart that only Jesus can fill.